What's up? What's up? Collective peace. Today, I'm going to be presenting the most accurate model of the universe today. Because on this channel, we don't deny facts. And that's what helps us get to the truth. Okay? Because some things work, some things don't, some things are lies, some things are not. Okay? Very simple. This is part 8 of the series. If you're new here, welcome. Okay, subscribe, like, share, comment, all that stuff. Okay, this is very, very important for the collective. Okay, none of this is my opinion up to this point. 8 videos and none of this is my opinion. We've broken down quantum physics and debunked it. We've debunked relativity. We've proved Einstein's a fraud who hasn't done anything for science. Okay, and we've shown that field interactions create everything from chemistry to, we're going to get into biology, but here we're into cosmology. Okay, so a common theme we're going to see in this part, which was also brought up in the last part, okay, which is part 1 of the new neo-ancient cosmological model of the multiverses, okay, but this particular universe. All right, so in this video we're going to see a common theme of scientists that do not agree with the mainstream narrative, okay? And we see that a lot of them have been killed recently, okay? And that's not new either. That's been happening for thousands of years, all right? And this is just piling on evidence. So, without further ado, where we left off last time was Eric Lerner. Okay, and his quasar plasma model, okay, which basically he shows that quasars form in the middle of galaxies, okay, through magnetic compression, okay. And what's also not really talked about is in his model, he doesn't need stars to be far away, like in the mainstream narrative now that, oh, these stars are parsecs and light years away and all this craziness. Nothing is light years away. Light doesn't travel. No one has provided a mechanism yet that I've talked to showing that showing how light speeds up out of a medium that it got slowed down from. So for example, a glass cup with water in it, when the light enters the medium, it slows down. What mechanism speeds the light back up without breaking the laws of conservation of energy, right? Because energy just doesn't come from nowhere, right? According to them, they got laws on this stuff, thermodynamics, right? So where does the energy come from? So Eric Lerner's plasma quasar model. Quasars form at the center of galaxies because of magnetic compression. Doesn't need distant stars, okay? So we already learned in the past videos, if you haven't seen it, that redshift and blue shift have to do with plasma phenomena and not this Doppler effect thing that's going on, because you need a medium for a Doppler effect, number one. So that debunks their whole models if they're saying that redshift, blue shift is because of that, right? And we already provided the experimental evidence for plasma redshift, right? So before that, right, Hubble is the one who came up with redshift, blue shift, okay, in the 1920s. Before that, for thousands of years, everyone agreed that the universe existed within the Milky Way, okay? And we're here to further that evidence with a plasma quasar model created by Eric Lerner, okay? If no one knows about it, you can look it up, okay? And he actually built off someone else's model, okay? Haynes-Alfven's works, okay? So he built his model off of this man's work, who I'm about to present right here, okay? And this is actually his depiction of galaxies, okay? So this is called Alfven's galactic circuit model, okay? And basically, it shows a galaxy right here, right? And remember the Steinmetz diagram that I have been showing, okay? Showing the electric field, right? And showing the duality of fields within that to create that field, right? And show that how this is the exact same geometry, because that's exactly what's going on, right? Walter Russell's electric universe. Not this new school bull crap that they're trying to pull off using these same relativity and quantum stuff. This new electric universe, no. We're talking about the old Walter Russell electric universe, which is, he's the one who actually coined the term. Okay, so galaxy, center. Okay, and then you got these two toroidal fields right here. Okay, they're calling it a unipolar inductor. Okay, so there's induction happening here and induction happening here. Okay, and what's actually happening is there's compression and then there's refraction. Okay, and it creates these double layers. Okay, and double layer is the same thing, but in plasma. So in plasma, they're going to call it positively charged and negatively charged. Okay, and there's going to be two plasma fields and then they interact. Okay, creating EMF waves and all types of phenomena. Okay, so double layers have to do with creating planets and stars and stuff. Okay, and that's not really talked about that much. Okay, and we're going to see that Haynes Alfvén actually said that himself. Okay, so this is Alfvén's galactic circuit model. Okay, plasma currents are drawn to the plane of the galaxies, then push out their poles. Much of the current returns to the plane, forming a circuit. Okay, so the galaxies are actually circuits. Okay, this is his works. Okay, I didn't make this up. All right. Recent mappings of magnetic fields in and around galaxies indicate that Alfvén was right, as large-scale currents appear to move through galaxies as modeled by him. Okay, so a lot of his predictions actually came true, and people discovered the things he was talking about. Okay, not only that, they discovered Alfvén wings. Okay, which are actually plasma waves. All right, that travel through the universe and travel through from the sun. They hit the earth too. Okay, these are plasma waves. They were theorized by him and they've already been experimentally proven. Okay, so anyone can look up Alfvén wings. These are already proven. This isn't theoretical no more. All right, so how did he say things formed within his model? Right, so critical velocity. The velocity of a neutral gas moving through magnetized plasma ionizes. Okay, and ionization, if you didn't catch my earlier videos, is just high energy light. Okay, so when they talk about stripping electrons and free electrons and all this stuff, that's just high energy light. Okay, it's more capacity. Okay, more compression. Okay, meaning more storage ability, more energy. Okay, it represents where plasma interactions change that cause high energy events, spectral lines, and EMF radiation, proposed by Haynes Alfvén to explain the origin of the universe, interactions between solar wind and moon plumes, and used to explain transient moon phenomena. Okay, so within his galactic circle model, meanwhile, he won a Nobel Prize, I believe, for his works. Great scientist, okay, astronomer, right? So, and he explains a lot of phenomena that science doesn't today using his model that they're going to discredit. They're not even going to talk about it, right? Like, and they're going to use models that don't even work, right? Which is the Big Bang model now, which doesn't explain a field, doesn't explain where fields come from, doesn't even explain where the particles come from. Totally materializes science. No one would have ever believed it, any genius in history. Okay, so anyway, this is a quote by Haynes himself. Astrophysical books given to students poorly represent plasma phenomena. Students using these textbooks remain essentially ignorant to important phenomena, including double layers, critical velocity, pinch effects, and circuits. Okay, very important for moving on to this next one. Okay, this is Halton Art's Cosmology. Okay, and he also had a galactic circuit type model, as you can see here. Okay, with the galaxy being the center. Okay, and these are the interactions, right? So he was also critical of the Big Bang and these type of models, and he was actually inspired by Mach. Okay, which is very important for these next parts coming up. Okay, because there's a lot of stuff about the universe that they're not gonna say, but we have evidence. Okay, so we're talking about experiments, we're talking about truth. Okay, we're not talking about BS, right? So, Halton Arts Cosmology. Quasars eject from the center of galaxies and become dwarf galaxies. So, from Alvin's galactic circuit, you get the circuit model of the galaxy. From Eric Lerner's model, you get how the quasars form in the center. And then from Arts cosmology, you get how those are ejected out into the universe and become brown dwarfs. Okay. Atlas of Peculiar Galaxies. Okay. So in 1966, Art published a book showing hundreds of anomalous observations that challenged the standard model of cosmology. Okay. So more information that they're going to sweep under the rug is that he found hundreds of examples that challenge mainstream Big Bang cosmology. And they're just going to act like that doesn't matter, right? Quasars and galaxies aren't as far as scientists say. More evidence that stars aren't light years away and all this crazy stuff, and smart people actually knew this and talked about this, but they're gonna say, oh, only dumb people talk about this, and they're just gonna discredit people, and they're gonna act like gatekeepers of science because they're actually materialists. Okay. Redshift in quasars is them being ejected from nuclei in the center of galaxies, not from expansion. Okay, so in this model, redshift and blueshift of quasars has to do with them being ejected from the center of galaxies, where they form, just like in Eric Lerner's model. Okay? The mass of quasars and galaxies varies. It doesn't stay constant. And that's because quasars are being ejected out, right, and created. So the mass varies and changes because mass has to do with vibration. Was eventually denied access to telescopes. This man was doing so much damage to their cosmology that they banned him from telescopes. Royal Reich Prison, 21 scientists dead. Banned from access from telescopes. People publicly, their works publicly burnt, inventions burnt. Nikola Tesla's patents taken. This is a very familiar subject that people are acting like it's brand new. Look what happened to this man. They're not even going to talk about Arts cosmology. And he has a lot of evidence. They're not even going to talk about it. Right? And then plasma redshift, like I was talking about. Okay? Was experimentally proven in a laboratory by Lyndon Ashmore in 2018. Anyone could look that up. In the description, I'm going to have that. Okay? So in the description, I'm going to have all the links and citations. Anyone who doesn't want to listen to me talk could just click on it and read for themselves. I'm making it that easy, okay? No one has to believe a word I'm saying. It's that simple. Okay? So, because plasma redshift is true and experimentally proven, and we're going off the scientific model, which experiments are part of the steps, right? We know that the universe exists within the Milky Way galaxy, okay? And we have cosmologies to back up our talking points and evidence, right? So, the Milky Way galaxy is the only galaxy. Every other galaxy is a nebula, okay? Andromeda Nebula, okay, yeah? Very good. Without redshift, Hubble's observations, oh, excuse me, yeah? Hubble's observations cannot be used for expansion. So basically, the universe don't expand. Okay? And the redshift, blue shift, right? Let's say it was true, which is not. They need a medium, Doppler effect. You need a medium, the air, Doppler effect. Medium. Medium. Okay? So, these are scientific articles people could look up. I just wrote it out. I have the links in the description. Okay, this isn't me making stuff up because I say a lot of things and people think I just make it up. I just had a lot of time to study because I didn't work a lot when I was younger and did things. I actually took my time and studied, and now that I'm spiritually in tune and stuff and all this stuff, things come easy for me. So I had a lot of time to study weird random facts. Okay, anyway, Milky Way is a weirdo amongst its peers, scientists say. So the Milky Way is special in comparison to every other galaxy. That's how true it is. Someone don't want me getting this out. Just know when you're speaking truth, you get attacked. That's how true it is. So the Milky Way is weird because it's not the same. It's not a nebula. It's a galaxy. Okay. Astronomers surprised to see galaxies pointed at us. That's because we are the center of the universe. Not exactly, but close to it. Okay. The exact center of the whole universe is Sirius A. And I'll show evidence of that through ancient texts. Okay. I'm not here to present evidence of that today. Also, Saturn would be the center of our solar system. And I'll present evidence of that through ancient texts. I'm not presenting evidence of that today. Okay. Anyway, moving on to the CMB, right? The cosmic microwave background. Okay. And since we know that the Big Bang is wrong, we know that when we're staring out, we're not looking at billions of years, right? It's not billions of years old. Okay. So what are we witnessing when we look, right? When they take pictures, right? We're seeing plasma density fluctuations throughout the entire CMB, right? And these fluctuations, right? Compressions, right? That's how everything forms, right? Magnetic compression, that's how the galaxy forms, okay? Through magnetic compression within the galaxy, that's how these things form, okay, y'all? So, what the CMB also proves is that we are the center of the universe. How? There's something called the axis of evil cosmology. Link will be in the description. I didn't make this up. We are the center of the universe, okay? And through looking at the CMB, they were able to determine that, okay? And one scientist is even quoted on saying that we are the center of the universe. That's what it appears to look like. Also, looking at the CMB, we know that the universe is not isotropic or homogeneous. So by just looking at the CMB, we can gain a lot of facts about the true nature of the universe, and we can see through a lot of the stuff that they're lying about. So studying the CMB is very good for the collective, in my opinion. It shows a lot of holes. We're going to move in the direction of more the mental part of the universe now, and people who are familiar with this diagram, this comes from the CIA Gateway process, and it comes from Bentov's work, okay? Itzhak Bentov, okay? If I butchered his name, I apologize. And basically, he viewed it as a mental type of universe, okay? Just like the ancestors, how the thought processes become waves, and those waves materialize and become particles and stuff like that, right? Shorthand version of how that happens, okay? But even his diagram of the universe, you can see the toroidal electric field nature, right? You can see how these geometries, how all these geniuses seem to come to the same conclusion, right? And when we're talking about geniuses, when it comes to these particular geometries and the electric fields and the dielectric magnetic components of the universe and field theories and field interactions, the list of scientists, you won't get a better list of names, from Faraday to Maxwell to the geniuses. Like we got the whole list. There's no competition. So Bentov's holographic conscious universe. Okay, consciousness is an expanding holographic entity here for evolution. Okay, so the universe started off as one thought. Now it is trillions and trillions and trillions of thoughts, and it's going to be ever expanding from that. And that is a form of the multiverse theory, in a scientific sense. Okay. Everything vibrates at a frequency, and through meditation, you can change your brainwaves to match the Earth's frequency to become one with cosmic intelligence. So, in the gateway process, you'll see that they have people basically called something called hemisyncing their brain through different vibrations, and they could sync the left and right hemisphere, And when they get the brain to vibrate at the 7.83 hertz that the Earth vibrates on, it's actually easier to communicate through telepathy, and a lot of our spiritual powers actually are enhanced in this brain mode. And he basically got that down to the science, and the CIA actually used this work. And they use remote viewers. So basically, how the CIA uses remote viewers to spy on other countries and look into the past and look into space and all that stuff. We'll get into future videos on that. Anyway, he also said that the universe comes from galaxies into webs. And at the time he said that, the cosmic web didn't exist yet. As far as science now being familiar with something called the cosmic web, okay, which is basically a network of galaxy clusters that create large-scale plasma filaments in what they call empty space, okay, and it's predicted by this guy named Yakub Zeldovich, all right, and they actually named an effect after him, and it has to do with the CMB, and it's called the Zeldovich effect, okay, and changes in capacity, density, and temperature of the CMB. Okay, or in other words, current sheet in plasma, which is basically interactions between plasma and objects. Okay, so when plasma interactions create this effect, very simple. All right, another thing is within the cosmic web, and they also have something in the universe called the Great Attractor and the Great Repeller. And in mainstream science, they're going to say, oh, this is gravity, all this stuff. No. All right. These gravity-based cosmologies are already dead, okay? In the other videos, we already showed gravity's dielectric acceleration. I showed that through other people's works. It ain't even mine. I ain't even create none of this stuff, okay? So the great attractor is just compression, because when something's attracting, it's compressed. That's really what's happening in science. It's compressing, right? And the great repeller, right, which they're going to say, oh, it's like this anti-gravity. No, it's refraction, okay? It's refraction, all right? So these are compression and refraction points within the universe. Very strong compression and refraction points, okay, within the universe. All right, very important. So this diagram right here is showing universal pole shifts, okay? So this is a quasar dipole, CMB dipole, galaxy dipole, quasar dipole. All right, and basically, since the universe is an electric field, within an electric field, the poles shift, right? Just like the Earth's poles are shifting, we're actually going through a galactic pole shift right now. If you see the sun's pole is shifting, Saturn's pole is shifting, our galaxy's pole is shifting, the whole universe's pole is shifting, actually, okay? And that's why a lot of these things are happening. That's why it's ushering in these new ages and all these things, okay? A lot of this stuff is scientific that the ancients are talking about. It's just, you know, they didn't have as many words as we do now to describe things, and they spoke in compound sentences, which means it's multi-layered meanings to you know, one thing. So instead of having a million words for one thing, they have one thing and have a million meanings for it, right? Almost the same thing, not entirely, all right? So, right, cosmic dipoles, right, polarizing, right? So the universe is actually in motion, right? That's what they call them, magnetic fluctuations and all that stuff. The universe spins, right? The electric field moves. It's not stagnant, okay? Some parts of it look like it's not moving. That's very high energy light that it vibrates so fast it looks like it's not moving, but it is. There's vibration going on there. Nothing is stagnant, right? So the rotating universe, right? Or cosmic bifringence. Okay, evidence in 2020, a study of hundreds of galaxies spinning in synchronized patterns, impossible according to the standard model. Of course it's impossible according to the standard model, because what they think has nothing to do with the actual science. They just misinterpret engineering equations, and the greatest electrical engineers ever in history totally did not even believe in this stuff, right? So another scientific article that came out was major problems can be fixed if the universe was rotating. Galaxies tend to favor spinning a preferred direction. And that direction has to do with the right-hand rule in magnetism. We're going to get into that. But it also solves the Hubble tension problem too. Okay, so we're solving a lot of problems along the way, because these problems come from materialistic science. Okay, So for people who aren't familiar with the right hand rule, okay, your right hand can show you the current, the dielectric potential, and the electromagnetic field. Where is that? Okay. And right-handed rule, okay, determines capacity, current flow, and the force of the magnetic field. Okay, so electric field, I meant force and magnetic field. Okay. So your middle finger is the magnetic current, right? Your pointer finger is the direction of charge. Your thumb is the direction of force. Okay. So galaxies to subatomic particles all follow the right-handed rule. Why? Because the universe is dictated by certain fields, and these fields follow a certain geometry. And that's why things make sense within these models. Okay? This is not BS messing around kiddo time. This is actual facts that we could prove experimentally, time and time again, over and over again, without the need for materialistic nothing. And it shows that invisible forces dictate reality, just like spirituality does. Okay? Because that's science. Very simple. So now we're going to get into a very fun part of this. Because if y'all thought it was over, it's not. Okay? So, the universe is actually geocentric. Scientifically. Okay? This is not my opinion. We're going to go over some talking points. And if there's scientists, tag the most famous or most smartest scientists you know. Okay? And tell them to simply answer these questions we have. Okay, so we're saying the universe is geocentric, which means the Earth is the center system while the celestial bodies orbit around her, because the Earth is a female, okay, and the universe rotates, like we just demonstrated, okay. So the Copernican theory is based on observations, okay. So the Copernican theory, and this is confirmed, I'm going to tag the video, okay? There's cosmologists that already confirmed this. This isn't my theory or my opinion. Okay, the Copernican model, right? The model of the Earth orbiting the sun, and then the sun whirling through space, that's still based on observations. That doesn't even fit in the scientific method. Y'all are not operating on the scientific method. This model is. This is why this is the most accurate model in the universe right now. Okay, if someone could show me better, show me. All right, but watch the whole video and consider everything that I'm putting into this. All right, and see if they add all of these things into their model. Okay, so perihelion and aphelion. Okay, so the Earth isn't in constant motion. Okay, that's impossible based on our own model. Okay, because the Earth actually has an elliptical orbit according to them. So the Earth slows down and speeds up. Okay, and the Earth is going 67,000 miles per hour. And I have articles from NASA that they said it themselves. That 67,000 miles per hour is fast. That the sun's going around, the Earth's going around the sun. That's fast. Okay, they said it out their own mouth. NASA quotes, not me. All right. So if the Earth's moving at a constant speed, how? When it slows down and speeds up, we would feel it. We would feel that. The Earth don't move, or we would feel it, because it's not in constant motion. Perihelion and aphelion is actual facts that you could demonstrate using their own model. Like, if your model is true, then how is that true? Shut them down, right? So, another reason why we're not moving. We're going to only use two motions, even though in their model there's more than two motions. And the Earth and the Sun, the galaxies move. There's a bunch of motions. We're going to use two. The Earth spinning according to them, and the Earth orbiting the Sun. Okay. And we're going to use a carnival ride for an example, and it's close. It's not exactly the motion, but it's somewhat close. And it's going to help explain this point. All right, it's called the uproar. Okay, and the uproar, it moves and it spins. Okay, and when you're on that ride, the only place you experience constant motion is in the center of the ride. Everyone on the outer part of it experiences acceleration and deceleration. Okay, so now I would like a scientist, a physicist, show the physics on, because we're not in the center of the Earth. Like, we're on the edge, right? We're on the surface, right? So if we're spinning and we're moving, how are we not experiencing acceleration and deceleration, right? Within this not constant motion as well. So I would like a scientific answer on that, since people want to talk about, oh, you're not an expert or whatever. So simply get a scientist and answer these questions then, okay? Another reason we know the Earth isn't spinning, this is a piece of evidence scientists try and use, which is crazy to me, the Coriolis effect. For anyone who thinks the Coriolis effect proves the Earth spins, tell me, tag the smartest scientists you know, ask them this, ask them whatever. They could debate. They don't want this debate. They don't want this debate. Okay. Ask them, how is the Earth spinning one way in the southern hemisphere and the other way in the northern hemisphere? How does that work if it's spinning in one direction in a constant motion? The Coriolis effect isn't the Earth spinning. That's actually ether drift. Okay, and we could prove it because it's measurable and it's not the rotation. So what is it? Ether drift. Yeah, ether drag. Boom. And stellar aberration was supported by the ether. Huh? So, Mach's universe. Remember Arp's work on working off Mach, right? Just like relativity uses Mach's work. Mach. So, we're going to go with a Mach's universe, Mach's geocentric universe. We're right here in this channel, we're taking what works and leaving the rest. So, if there's things that don't work, it's okay. Like, we're not hard set on any particular model, but this is helping us, right, with the science to explain things, right? So there's a video I'm putting in the description, Mach's bucket versus Newton's bucket, and it has to do with universal principles, okay, and gravity and all these things, and how forces are applied and how we experience them, right? So, in Mach's principle, local physical laws and inertia are determined by large-scale mass distribution, or in other words, the motion of the celestial bodies is what creates the forces that we feel, okay, and the forces that exist, right? Very important, okay? And also another model that we're going to build off, and is we're not taking everything, we're taking what works, right? The Neo-Tychonian model, okay? Combines Newton's works, Copernican principle, and Mach's principle, and has Earth as a center while the sun and the planets orbit it. Okay, so we have models to build off through the actual facts that we know. The Earth's the center of the universe, basically. We could demonstrate that. We could demonstrate stars aren't that far, that light don't travel the way they say. Okay, we know that the Earth don't move. Okay, so nothing's orbiting. The Earth ain't moving nowhere, so these things are moving around us, right? So, I want to see their science, okay, and how they're going to present their evidence. Okay, so this Eric Dollard, okay, working on one of his machines, and I can't tell you which machine this is exactly, but if anyone remembers the electric field video I did, this is not the new series, this is older videos if you haven't seen it. The 8 poles of electricity with Charles Steinmetz and stuff like that. Very interesting discussions. I might go deeper into that as well, because that's actually ISIS too. But oops, yeah. Anyway, so Eric Dollar's universe. All right. So we were building on the more mental side with Bental's universe, and I'm gonna relate Eric Dollard's view of the universe with a mental aspect, because he believes that the universe is a quadrant electric universe, and the duality between space, which is expanding magnetic currents, and counter space, which is contracting dielectric voltage. Okay, and quadrant means 4, so it's a 4-pole system, circuit. Just like the brain is also, the brain is a quadrupole, and Eric Dollard, his view of the universe is a quadrupole, and I believe that's very important. Okay, So he centers his systems around ether physics and longitudinal non-Hertzian waves. What's a non-Hertzian wave? Well, for example, when you have scalar waves, which are not waves, but there's point source energy. So everything within the electric field, those waves are bound by the maximum rate of vibration within the medium, which scientists mistakenly call the speed of light. Okay, but there's energy that could travel from point to point without any without that disturbance instantly. Okay, that's the stuff they were saying Nikola Tesla was lying about, even though scalar waves exist now. And yeah, so non-Hertzian waves has to do with energy that travels point source. Okay. And oh, these new models, oh, everything's a wave, the whole universe is electromagnetic frequencies. Cap. Okay. Point source energy. All right, dielectric field. Okay. Easily debunk them. Easily. Okay. And he's critical of relativity and quantum. All of these scientists are critical of relativity and quantum. They're out there doing experiments, proving their works through experiments. And you got these other people just believing stuff because some other dude said it. Mid-tier engineers and scientists and physicists. Mid-tier. So, to wrap this up, because Eric Dollar also believed he don't really believe, he could prove it, that the universe is fractal. Especially because fractals, they say, can't be scaled up to the large scales of these light years and stuff. Well, that stuff don't exist, so we can scale up the universe to fractals. And that's actually one of my theories too, is that we could scale up the universe from fractals and we could scale it up. And I'm going to create models actually proving that, because we don't play around on this channel. Okay. So fractals, continuously never-ending patterns found in nature, could be scaled up to universal size. Okay. One of my pieces of evidence for that is actually a cool story. Okay, so this lady named Gabrielle Reese, not a cool story, but put her father's ashes under a microscope and seen galaxies and stars. All right, post videos and pictures of it. It's very interesting when you think about the fractal nature of reality. To see that type of evidence and to see it with your eyes, it's kind of crazy to look at. Yeah, so that's the neo-ancient cosmological model. As you can see, it's basically built on facts on facts on facts with experiments and observations and geniuses and all types of stuff. And no one else is saying that the universe exists within the Milky Way and that we're geocentric. And a lot of people want to dive into other conversations, stretch a little farther from that geocentric conversation. And we're going to keep it strictly science here. Okay, so I'm going to get into Earth science after this. The next video is going to be on the sun, okay, then the moon, then we'll get into the Earth. Okay, but to briefly mention, the Earth is a comet. Okay, so when we talk about the shape, it's not a perfect ball, it's not an ellipse per se, and it's not flat per se. Alright, none of those are the full true story. It's a comet. Alright, we'll get deeper into that discussion. Alright, but for now, this is the most accurate model of the universe. Okay, building upon this, I would like the geniuses and the intellectuals within the collective to, come and build upon it. Okay, if you have any critiques or you have anything to add, alright, this is for us to show that the ancestral science is already proven. Alright, so all we need to do is get into our studies and look at the symbolism behind the field theory, electrical circuits, and all this stuff. Look at the ancient symbolisms of for lack of a better term, alchemy and all these things, magic, and see the correlations, because we're all talking about energy here, and we need all our geniuses, because these stories aren't just about field theory or electricity. Okay, there's biology. All right, there's chemistry. There's obviously cosmology. There's there's history. There's many stories being told within these tablets, within these tags, within these hieroglyphs and petroglyphs, and from the lens that of your own knowledge, like from your lens, you could view it within the way that you understand it, right? So a physicist, an engineer, and a biologist could look at the walls, and they could all see something different based on their interpretation of their knowledge. And what I'm saying is that none of them are wrong, and that the story is multi-layered. And that's the important part. That's why we need our geniuses on it, and that's why I'm here to help bring the evidence, right, and to make it very simple so that anyone can understand it, right, or understand it, and basically build upon that, like, so we're not stuck in these old conversations, these old talking points, basically stuck in the mud, right? So this is a push into the future. I would like to thank everyone who tuned in. I do this for the collective so we could build, okay? Scientific PDFs are coming, right? And we're gonna have accurate models of everything, and we're gonna build from there. We're gonna do collaborations, and we're gonna build, and we're gonna get the truth, and through that truth, people are gonna understand the universe. And in my mind, you know, the more people tune into their spiritual nature, the better the earth will benefit, in my opinion. And my opinion holds weight, whether people know it or not. That's not cocky or nothing. That's just that's ancestral confidence, because I'm human just like everyone else, and I'm just built for this stuff. Thank you, collective. Yo, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been a long day, long night, and I put some work into this. I'm about to put work into the sun model so I could bring that to y'all, so we can see through magnetic compression how these things are formed, and we're gonna see how the sun is formed through these same processes. Okay, so for everyone who tuned in, thank you. I know it's getting redundant. Have a good night, day, wherever you're at. Peace.